How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Track Stories. So, we talked about the Way of Honor last episode. Today, we are talking about the Metaphor. This one was kind of an experiment in structuring, and we, being Jeff and I, kind of had already at this point, kind of had already gotten a little bored in your standard structuring ideas when it came to the songs we were working on for this album. Not that there's anything wrong with your verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus, out structuring, because sometimes that is the perfect thing for the riffs that you have. But we wanted to kind of mess with some different structuring ideas, and this was that song for us. We not only wanted to mess with the structuring, but we also didn't want this one to be your standard hard rock alt metal song that where you start off a little bit softer and then you build to heavier and then you kind of have a little bit of a lull and then you just get really big and heavy towards the end of the song. We kind of wanted to flip it on its head to where, yeah, it started off a little bit softer and it had a little bit of a build up, but instead of it just getting to this huge, big, heavy outro, we kind of wanted to just let this one breathe out and everything and go a lot more almost ballady, actually, for lack of better words. It had a very ballad type feel for the entire outro. There's no distortion going on it. There's a lot of piano work going on in the outro. I'm utilizing some wah in like a midpoint of the outro on it, and we kind of just took it to where the whole song, just little by little, it's like it kind of like an onion where we're peeling layers off one at a time as the outro went along, to where it had a lot of it at the beginning of the outro, and then either the way that we were playing the riffs would get a little less on the strum, or one of the instruments would eventually kind of just fade out to where it was a little bit thinner of a section and a mix. That we were just little by little pulling it back to the point where it was very bare bone by the time we got to the end. And it wasn't for anything more than we were already wanting to kind of stretch our legs by this point in time. Granted, this was only album number 2, but we were really wanting to stretch our legs already by this point in time and really see what we were made of when it came to songwriters and what we could possibly do for experimentation and it be accepted by our fan base, and if they were going to be on board with us kind of right out of the gate after only an album, really kind of seeing how experimental we could get, and if we wanted to keep doing it that way or if they were okay with it, and if, what would be the mid ground. And I'm happy to say I think a lot of the parts of this album really showed that we had the freedom to kind of write however we wanted to write moving forward, because there weren't a lot of things off this album that we got feedback from people on stating that they were a little confused by or downright didn't like off of this album. Not saying that everybody liked every track, but we also cultivated this album expecting not everyone to like the entire album, but hoping that everyone would at least find a couple things on the album that they did like. And we wanted to kind of have a variety going. And this was one of those songs that we could feel was going to lend to giving the variety. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you in the next episode.